And that was filmed or that was just written?
It was filmed, shown to a test audience. The effects were never completed, but it was done.
Oh, good Lord.
They thought it was a good enough idea. Well, I'll tell you how it plays out. But yes, the predator dogs were the only animals left because they couldn't cut them out effectively. They'd used them too much. But they were to slow boil us to believe in all the predator menagerie.
Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever. At any rate, all of this is transpiring at the school. We get some more action in which essentially Big Pun takes a little pun, rips his skull out, drinks the juice, and Olivia Munn's the only one that noticed it. I've seen the movie twice. I tried to see it, and she's like, hey, did anyone notice he just grew an exoskeleton? I'm like, no, I did not see that.
Thank God. Me either. Either time.
I didn't see that either.
People have to keep explaining what's happening in this movie because it probably wouldn't occur to you that they're doing this stupid thing where, yeah, you drink spinal fluid and it makes you into whatever the creature was that you're drinking from.
But the exoskeleton, wait, you don't drink the you know what? Roll out.
Yeah.
I can't do that. It's so dumb.
It's dumb. Where are they going to? Like, Big Pun decides that this is his best lead into finding where Little Pun had the ship. He probably should have asked him a few more questions, tortured him to get the idea about where his little MacGuffin is that everything is riding on. He's brought something to Earth that is supposed to protect us. I want to ask, it crashed, right? It's not like he would even know where his ship is. He shot out in an escape pod that landed in Mexico. How would he know where his ship is?
GPS?
I think it is a matter of the equipment. It all comes down to chasing those parts that Rory has, because then you can find the ship.
Okay, so why go to an abandoned barn that is no one's? Like, I think this is the Fox back lot set where Wolverine got his leather jacket from the old people. It's just every time they just need a barn set, let's just go here.
Yeah, according to the original script, this was supposed to be really metaphorical. It wasn't just a barn. It was a slaughterhouse.
All right.
That still doesn't explain why they go here, but it allows us to regroup. You know, you always need a breather a little after the middle of the movie. People need to take a breath, see what they're going to do. And father gets to talk with son finally. This is the first time in a long time Quinn has seen his son. His first thing he says to him is, your mom cutting your hair? I mean, I feel like that's the story that probably should have been told, but because Shane Black loves his kooky vet so much, in every scene, they're just stealing it away. And you just feel like that's all you're paying attention to. For better or for worse, sometimes the jokes are funny. Many times for me, they're not. But I just feel like they're unnecessary.
Give the movie to the actors who are earning it. Don't let the bland people own the screen. I agree with that instinct. If I was in the editing room, I'd have cut much more out of the McKenna family.
Yeah, but if you were at the typewriter, you would have just gone in a different direction.
And if I was at the casting office, I wouldn't have picked Boyd.
Well, look, if you're going to have a movie about the loonies, as they call them, then make the movie about the loonies, I think is what Stuart's saying. And if you set the movie up to be about the family, stick with the same protagonist, but the movie goes off to a whole different tangent, it's like Rogue One. The second half of Rogue One is a different movie than the first half of Rogue One, and we all know why. And we still enjoy Rogue One. That movie made it work much better than this movie does when the first half is different than the second half of the movie, about who the protagonists are and what we're following, what we're doing.
But eventually, we got to get to a climax where Traeger has taken Rory and all the loonies have battled it out in the barn with nameless people, and they're going to be led to the ship by the dog.
This is where everything changes. The moment they escape the slaughterhouse is where the new film stuff, and keep in mind, it was done pretty quickly. Not a frame of what we see. All right, there were a couple frames, but let me tell you the original ending and see if you guys like this at all better. So, the military comes in, the army. We have an army general, played by Edward James Olmos. Yes, he was almost in this film. And he kills Traeger. So Traeger is killed at like the 1 hour mark, and the general's like, yeah, we never liked this guy. Traeger was trying to... The stuff, that yellow vial that Brackett had, was predator spinal fluid that Traeger was going to use to create a better human. The way predators were evolving, humans were going to evolve, and he was going to create a way that we could survive the climate change. And he would sell it to the rich people so that only the rich can survive the climate change. And that's why he wanted Brackett killed, is because she was taking his moneymaker. So now we have the general roll in, shoot Traeger, and say, okay, here's what's really going on. There's a Predator civil war. We have 2 Predators at Area 52. No, that's not a misspeak. I don't mean Area 51. There's an Area 52.
The sequel.
There's 2 Predators that have been hanging out there for a year. This Predator that came to Earth on his ship, the crash ship, was called the Ark, like Noah's. And it had come bringing with it all of these animals because Upgrade, these were his pets. He had trained all of them to hunt, and he was going to come to Earth with all of these animals to kill humans. So the other Predator decided to steal the animals and bring them to Earth so we could take care of them first and not be attacked by them. But the little Predator was killed. Upgrade gets his menagerie of Predator spiders and Predator dogs and Predator pumas and everything. And so the final battle happens at Area 52 in broad daylight and there's photos of this on the web and they're hysterical. Quinn teams up with the Predators who get in a tank and a Humvee and start shooting at all these animals. You see Predators driving human military tanks. It's funny.
You're telling me all that was actually filmed?
Yes! Yeah, I have to just keep telling you that, huh?
I'm having trouble with that.
It does explain why I heard that these problems were happening and that they were stopping it. They were talking about not releasing the film. Again, delays for 6 months or more. Of course you delay that. Of course you don't release that.
That sounds horrible.
Yes, it does.
But it made a lot of sense to me that they went back into a forest at the end of this movie. I'm thinking, okay, they're going to go back to like a jungle type setting. This time it's a forest, but they have trees. They can harken back to the original Predator movie. That makes a lot more sense. And I didn't say I loved it what they did, but at least they did that. It made sense to do that.
And the climax that they'd filmed originally was all filmed in daylight. When Shane Black was asked at Comic-Con, can you tell me about the reshoots? Well, we did it in daylight, and we realized that the Predator just wasn't scary enough. So we went back to film it at night so we could remind people how scary the Predator is. That's the whitewash over. We took out 80 types of Predator animals, but if you wonder why it's nighttime when the Predator is like, I give you head start, and he's doing the hunting, but later on when Quinn is like on top of the ship and doing some really poor green screen and it's daylight, that stuff was actually still in the original of like the legs getting cut off by the shields and everything. So they did find a way to reuse some of the stuff.
Yeah, they weren't ready to make this movie. They knew they wanted to hit the 30th anniversary, but they didn't have a real good, clear idea about what a Predator movie should be 30 years later. And so you have all these half-baked ideas, some of which might have worked set up an entirely different way, but with the characters that we've been given, and that being the climax, I don't know why anyone would go hunting with spiders. Like, I don't understand any of that. That sounds like garbage.
And it was actually really deadly. I mean, the spider attacks Quinn and Rory, and they have trouble killing him. And Rory is the one who figures out how to save them all because he figures out all the animals have collars on, which is the self-destruct like the first Predator had in the 87 movie. And so Rory flies the Predator ship and activates the self-destruct, killing all the animals.
So I'm liking this movie a whole lot more because what you're describing is a complete failure. And what we get here in the climax, it just feels a little underwhelming here. We get Chekhov's bowel movement. I guess if you eat the MacGuffin in Act 1, you must shit it out in Act 3 and then turn invisible to save your kid at the ship.
I didn't know eating a foosball would give you the same stomach noises as Taco Bell.
Yeah, that does do that to me.
Yeah, totally. And I think he said time advantage, and I thought that was something like Borat would say, not understanding the translation, and he said, Ty will give you time advantage. And I was like, what the hell does time advantage mean? And it means head start, right? We know what that means, but the way he said it, I was like, why would he say time advantage? Doesn't make any sense to me.
For some reason, I was on that. I was like, oh, yeah, head start.
I was thinking, oh, something got lost in the translation in the translator. That's what happened to me.
It's still better than the original script where those 2 friendly Predators have iPhones that translate their words to English. So they're basically speaking English. Here's the thing about the loonies, though. When I was introduced to them, I knew there were loonies that I really liked and loonies I didn't. You've asked me a couple of times about the explosive experts, Lynch. I can't explain him.
Yeah, why he's there among them. Again, he's not American. He's not in the army. I don't know why he would be quarantined in the same way. What he was doing that gets his arm shot off. And does anyone notice that when he's there? I don't think he told a joke. I don't think he did anything to last. I mean, most of the people here have a moment. They give them a moment to tell a joke or to be funny or to be moving. I do think the character out of all of them, the one we like, the one that's most close to sane, the suicidal one, is Nebraska. Like, he has had a genuine friendship build up with Quinn, and we are rooting for him. The others, we know they're dead meat. We know that they're here for a cheap laugh, that they'll be gone here in the forest.
But that's the thing. I thought for sure we would see the poorly developed ones like Lynch and Nettles. They'd be early kills. Like, they'd be taken out by the predator dogs. And then later we'd feel bad as we lose Baxley and Coyle, and Nebraska would be last, but it would be the body count spread throughout. This movie is deathless of any named characters until this final act.
And that's because I do not believe Shane Black wanted to kill these guys. This is the movie for him. He's holding on to them for as long as he can. He doesn't want to give them up. He doesn't want them to be meted out every 10 minutes, another death. He wants to retain these people, again, like Howard Hawks did with The Thing from Another World, just to be running commentary as we watch this creature go on a rampage. And it's just an instinct that is very counter to action and suspense and horror.
He did the same thing in the original script. I mean, obviously, if the first hour is the same, these guys live till the end. They all did die in the original script too, but...
Yeah, I mean, there's some precedents for that. I mean, I think this kind of guy movie ends with you losing a lot of the ones you love, but does it mean anything that we have Coyle and Baxley, who I guess befriended one another during a friendly fire incident?
Here's what happened, and this is really, unfortunately, it's told to us by Nettles, and so it's all mumbled, and I couldn't understand it, but I heard something about, isn't that romantic? That's why I wondered if they were like lovers or something, and I'm like, that's really kind of cool in the Rogue One kind of way. And the fact that Coyle made so much fun of Baxley, you know, they were ribbing each other. But here's what it is, and I could tell this through the subtitles. Coyle killed his entire squad.
Yeah, no, it's clear.
Except for Baxley. Baxley was in that squad.
But it was accidental. To be clear, he got turned around and his vehicle had turned and he was firing at what he thought was the enemy. And it was just his friends coming up behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they got to know each other when they were at the military tribunals.
I didn't understand a damn word of that was mumbled the first time I saw it.
It's explained, but you're right. It isn't dramatized.
It's an accident, but he's also stripped of his rank and gone loony from it. I mean, it's affected him. The moment of them looking at each other, both impaled, both know they're going to die, and they decide to kill each other out of friendship, camaraderie.
Mercy.
Oh, sure. I like that scene.
The scene I love is they're fighting Upgrade, and they lure him to an area with bombs, and they catch him on fire, and the guy isn't falling. And Thomas Jane gets the most badass moment of the movie where he grabs a knife, leaps on this flaming predator, and just keeps stabbing him. And like, why won't you die? I mean, he obviously was sacrificing himself. Even if he hadn't been impaled on a branch, those third-degree burns were not going to heal. But my God, that was awesome.
It was great. That whole sequence was kind of good. I kind of enjoyed, once they got back to Predator in the forest and people getting killed and people fighting, I was enjoying what I was seeing, and I thought the way these two ended, that whole sequence was one of the stronger ones in the movie.
The fire was cool. I don't know. These two, I never had much expectation that they would make it or do anything that memorable. I was rooting for Nebraska, and I was wanting to see how Traeger was going to get it. I barely noticed. He has like a Predator gun on his shoulder. He's trying to use their technology to fire at him. How does he die?
I don't know.
2 movies and I didn't catch it.
Yeah, that would be a moment you'd want to underline. The big villain, probably like he shot himself or something, but I couldn't quite make it out. We finally get to the ship, and Big Pun has declared that the McKenna he really wants is Rory. He's going to take him with him. I don't know why he just doesn't take his skull, but we do know why, because they're not going to kill a kid in front of us. This movie is R-rated, but it's not that nihilistic. And so we got to save the kid climax where everyone's jumping on top of the ship as it's taken off.
And was that some bad green green screen, or was that the worst green screen we've seen in a long time?
It's like 1980s green screen. They all thought jumping on top of a ship was a good idea, like T.J. Hooker. I don't understand that at all.
I think they just got the stupidity gene from the Olivia Munn doctor when she jumped on a bus. It worked out for her.
Yeah, you don't want to drink any of this spinal fluid. If you're trying to make yourself better, this is not going to do that. These guys